Okay, it's 9 o'clock and we'll call this first meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order on May 2nd at 9 o'clock a.m. We'll have roll call. Ron Buckholz.
Here.
Mark Helwig.
Here.
Jeff Haney is excused. Marshall Savitsky.
Here.
John Sarowski.
Here.
You have a quorum. And let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and I'm running multiple pieces of equipment plus the meeting, so it might be a little slower than normal to get started here. This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes. Today, we have the election of chair and vice chair of the committee, and we will open the floor for nominations for the position of chair. The person receiving majority vote of members entitled to a seat shall be declared elected. This vote will take place by voice vote. If no majority is reached, we will continue voting. If there is more than one person nominated, we will allow the candidates to speak for 3 minutes on their own behalf. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the position of chair. Do I have any nominations?
Madam Clerk, I would like to nominate Ron Buckholz for chair.
Do we have a second nomination for the position of chair? Is there a third and last call for nomination for the position of chair? If not, we will just call for a voice vote for unanimous acceptance of Ron Buckholz as a position of chair of the Public Safety Committee. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Congratulations, we have a new chair. Would you like to conduct the vote? Okay, we'll do the same process for the position of vice chair. Do we have any nominations for the position of vice chair?
I nominate Mark Helwig.
Do we have any second nomination for the position of vice chair? Last call and third for the nomination of vice chair. Okay, we have one candidate. Since we have a unanimous vote, will we cast our voice votes for the position of vice chair? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. We have a chair and vice chair for the Public Safety Committee meeting, and I will turn the meeting over to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, number 6, meeting agenda has been presented. We're going to leave it as it is. Number 7, public comment. Is there anyone out there that would like to speak? Is there anybody online? Okay. All right. Number 8, consider approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes of 4/4/24.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Helwig and a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve the minutes of 4/4/24. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Number 9, Circuit Court. The judges are busy. I have no report. Anybody get a report from the judge? Okay, all right, number 9. Or number 10, I mean, Clerk of Courts. Marge, you're up. Okay, does anyone have any comments for Marge on her report? Marge, you do a good job in report, thank you. All right, number 11, Sheriff's Department report. Sheriff, you want?
I'll just start off. I'd like to congratulate all the board members for getting elected or re-elected, and welcome to getting appointed to this committee. A couple of things. Some of the reports may include some 2022, 2023 data to bring our new committee members up to speed. on issues in our agency. I also want to recognize several weeks ago was National Communications Week, honoring all of our 911 dispatchers. Next week is going to be National Corrections Officers Week, honoring all of our jailers. And in 2 weeks is going to be National Police Week, honoring all of our patrol deputies and officers in all of the law enforcement officer agencies. There will also, on the 15th of May, as annual, there'll be a national ceremony honoring all of our fallen officers this year for the 2023 officers who were killed in the line of duty. With that, I'll turn it over.
Okay, Lieutenant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see, our call volume did decrease again from last month to 659 calls for service. Our trends are still tracking downwards, which is typical for this time of year. February 24th was 827, March 24th was 718, and it's very similar to where we were at last year for 647 calls. For the April of 2024 period, deputies have issued 23 citations for traffic offenses, 2 written warnings, and 21 non-traffic citations. And per community maps, there were 13 total crashes, 4 personal injuries, and I am told now we do have 1 fatality for this county for the period that occurred last week. So our numbers will be updated in the following, bringing our totals to 96 crashes, 11 with personal injuries, and now the 1 fatality. We do want to make mention that several members of our command staff attended the Northwoods Area Technical College Leadership Management Conference. It was well attended. It was a 3-day event hosted at the Flat Creek Convention Center. We're also working with some grant services, community partners, and Sawyer County EMS to update our patrol staff, first responders, medical, and AED gear. We are also anticipating that Sawyer County K-9 Deputy Dennis Nelson is nearing the completion of his schooling and anticipate his graduation at the end of May. As the sheriff mentioned, Police Week begins Sunday, May 12th, 2024, and occurs through Saturday, May 18th, as a time to recognize the great service law enforcement professionals provide to the community and have honored those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. There will be 1 or 2 of our staff attending the Northwest Region ceremonies down also at the Eau Claire Sheriff's Office during that time. Concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Lieutenant Rapinski? Okay, thank you. All right, number B, jail report, Lieutenant Waller.
Thank you. April's jail report, jail population continues to be on the lower side of what we've seen in the past. We're at 59.75, 21.75 females to 38 males. Average probation incarceration is at 18. Pre-sentence incarceration, 32.5. Average sentence incarceration is at 9.25. We currently have 2 on electronic monitor and 1 working Huber. Our unemployment rate is holding right around that 70% mark, and I did include numbers on the bottom for the new members of the committee to see the jail trends for the past few years.
Okay. Great. Anybody have any questions for Lieutenant? Okay. Not, we'll move on to number C, Communication Center report.
Thank you. The first quarter grant report was completed for the Next Gen 911 grant. We have our Eventide recording gear installed. We're waiting on a little bit of recording gear to be installed for our radios, but we are still recording all of it. And training was held with the admin staff. We also have new computers for our 2 workstations and dispatch that were built and installed during that first quarter. We have interviewed 3 applicants for dispatch, with 1 beginning the 2nd week of May and the 2 others to follow. We currently have 1 dispatcher in the second half of their training and progressing well. They should be done within the next few weeks. Recently, the dispatchers attended dementia-friendly training that was put on by the Sawyer County ADRC. And one of our dispatchers will be attending the WIPSCOM training in the Wisconsin Dells later in May. The training will provide greater knowledge of how to handle certain calls, mental health within communications, how to take and treat swatting and threat calls, Rapid SOS, which is an integrated system with our CAD system, which gives us more localized and time-sensitive information on 911 calls. And there are other beneficial breakout sessions as well. We've also been working steadily with GenCom and Wiscom. They have reprogrammed portables and mobile radios, as well as improved our paging for fire and EMS, which will be talked about later on. Our overall calls for service for April is 1,152, which is down slightly from last year at this time, with a total number of calls being 5,459 as of April 26th.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Pinsky? No? All right, number D. Communication System Specialist Report. Possible action and discussion.
Yeah, I'll start the conversation and then we do have Aaron online from GenCom. He'll drop in at the end, I think, to share some additional information. So outside of just the monthly report or update, I wanted to use this month to start the conversation on what we need to address with our current public safety radio system. Mainly because we're transitioning between committees, I want to get everybody on the same page. A few months ago, the committee heard a little bit of a presentation from GenCom after they had assessed our current radio system. I guess I'll be best to take a step back. I think everybody knows that we switched to GenCom the first of the year. Towards the end of last year, we determined to end the contract with Mr. Kruk, put an RFP for other providers, and received a proposal from GenCom and have moved ahead with them. And they were tasked with assessing our current radio system, determining what we needed to do to improve it, or as I guess I would say stabilize it. They found a number of deficiencies with the system that you heard about, related to primarily the towers and needing to secure some of the antennas and cables, and they've moved ahead with that. The second task was to look at, okay, this is what we have. What is it doing? What is the coverage we're looking for? And what do we need to do to get there? And that's kind of the next step that we're at. Is they've done that, and they've shared the information with staff and myself. And it's not a small project. There's not much we can do with what we have. It's almost like we need to tear it down, build it back up, so to speak. So I just wanted to run through a few slides that Lynn's put up on the screen, just to summarize the high points. GenCom will come to next month's meeting with the full presentation on a new radio system. So the reason we're looking at this, though, is right now we have these current sites with our towers. Keep on going. And this shows mobile coverage, which is pretty good throughout the county. We still have weaknesses down in the southeast portion, but we're our next slide. Where it gets pretty thin, though, is with the portable coverage, which is what we want. And Sheriff, what do we want for portable coverage?
For portable coverage, we want to move towards 95% portable coverage throughout the county.
Yeah. And you can see the blue is where we have decent coverage, white is where we do not. So that's, I don't know, maybe half the county. Keep on going. That's outdoor coverage. This is indoor coverage. So if a deputy's in a building, it's pretty poor. Next slide. So their look at this is that we need to realign or develop move some towers. I mean, we'd reduce the number of towers, but by shifting onto some different towers in the town of Meteor, LCO tower, and then a new tower over on the east side of the county that does not exist now. We'd probably have to build a tower. We can get to better coverage. Keep on going. And so now, go back up just a little bit so I can see the title. So this would be the blue. Now these are specific to each tower site that we'd have. So this isn't the whole county. So the Haywards, off of the Hayward Tower, we would have all of that area. Keep on going. This is the LCO Tower. We cover a good portion of the county. This is the town of Meteor Tower. That'd be a new tower location. Mosaic Tower in Birchwood would cover that far corner. And then the new tower in Loretta would cover the east side of the county. This is switched, so white is good on these. So this is the mobile radio coverage, the P25. I'll have Aaron explain that. And this is outdoor. And then indoor would be vastly improved. Still mobile coverage. And paging, I think that's something we've heard a fair number of complaints from all agencies that use our radio.
Yeah.
That would be improved as well. So I think that's an important note too, is that this radio system, all of the communications are used throughout, obviously by our sheriff's department, our EMS, all 8 of the fire departments, the law enforcement agencies, the LCO, City of Hayward, Town of Hayward, the LCO wardens. So it's the backbone for all communications on the public safety area for the county. So we have some definite deficiencies there, and this is not how I want to start out with the new board, but we're looking at, we're going to get a final dollar estimate by next month, but $2 million-ish in that range. There's not a lot of ways to tackle that. We've talked about grant funding, but there's not any ready available today, and waiting for what might be coming in the next couple of years probably increase the cost more than we would benefit from the grant funding by waiting. So next month we intend to come in with the full proposal on the cost and how we, any solutions we have to pay for it, to put in front of the committee, and then if you see fit to move it forward to the rest of the board. It's not part of our capital improvement planning now, so it'd have to be on top of or replacing what we already have planned for the next couple of years. Maybe now is a good time to, Aaron, did you want to fill in any?
Yeah, sure. So if you can scroll back up to kind of like the existing coverage, I can touch on that a little bit for some of the new members. It's a little bit worse than that the maps show in the eastern part of the state. Yep, you can just keep going up. And yep, keep going right there. Stop. That'd be go back. Right there. So here's your indoor coverage currently. If you take the site that's labeled winter, that's actually not in winter. When we first did the mapping, we were told the site was there, but it isn't an active site. That site is actually over in Draper at the fire department. And so if you take that site and you kind of make a circle around the blue there and you shrink that significantly and move that over there, it doesn't cover much at all, quite honestly. When we did that, I didn't have time to get you the map here, but we're at a point here for you guys that we can maintain what's currently working, but I can't change the sites. Meaning it is what it is as it exists today. And if you look at what we propose going forward in order to get that coverage that's requested, we're only reusing one site. We have to move equipment, to every, all over the county in order to provide that kind of coverage. And so that's kind of where it's at. I don't know if am I able to share this? I got some photos I wouldn't mind sharing with you guys.
Yeah, you can share it. Lynn can stop hers and.
Okay. So this folder here. Sorry, guys. Just a few photos here. I want to share this. Guys, see my folder open here? Okay, perfect. So a couple things to note. here's a photo of the Hayward water tank in Hayward. And what I'd like to highlight is here's the radio equipment is in this this shed here. A couple things to note that we've come across. So you've got your microwave, which is basically hauling the voice traffic, is attached by 2 small clamps. And what happens is when the wind picks up.
Aaron, we're not getting the picture up yet.
Oh, where in the world?
We're just seeing the spinning wheel like it's trying to open the picture.
Well, I see it. Ooh. I'm sorry here, guys. I don't know. Do you not see? Well, if it doesn't work here, I can show it to you at the next meeting. And it says it's sharing. I'll stop that and see.
There, we got it.
Okay. So this is it switched on me here, but this is Moose Lake, for example. And you have your coax is running into the building, and you know it's indicative of it's not the greatest. It works, right? But spray foaming it in, there's just better ways to do things. We would normally put like an entry boot. You know, you drill a big hole, you put a panel in there, and then you have a nice rubber boot that seals everything up nice. This is okay for a while, but eventually this foam will disintegrate just from the sun and everything else. And, you know, then you'll have it open for all the wasps and everything else to jump in. Let's see. This one show up?
No.
Okay. I don't know why I have to do them one at a time here.
We can see it.
Okay. So this was the Hayward water tank. So here's your microwave, as I was highlighting here. These are the mounts. They're not real heavy duty. And what will happen is this microwave dish, it's fairly low to the ground, and it points directly into a tree or a bush that's not far away. And as that bush grows, it's gonna end up being blocked. And when the wind blows, this pipe, you know, shakes quite a bit. The link is fairly stable, but I just don't have a whole lot of faith in the long-term viability of it. The other issue you have is your coax is running along here, and as snow and ice, although it was a nice winter, once that builds up on that, it creates weight and pulls on that cable, which is never a good thing. Okay, that one. Go to this was a photo that was taken from the Forest Service. This is the Moose Lake fire tower. And this tall antenna on the left on the photo is the transmit and receive antenna for Law D and paging. And the thing I'd like to highlight here as I zoom in is this right here is a top mount. And you want that because that antenna is probably roughly 25 feet long, and you can't just mount it at the bottom. You have to have something to stabilize it at the top. It's just too kind of big and awkward. But what's being used is this piece of unistrut. And if you're not familiar, it's used in construction and buildings a lot. It's just like a universal mounting solution for a lot of, for drop ceilings, for duct work, things like that. It's held with a U-bolt here, but if you zoom way in here, what's holding that to the tower is tape and a hose clamp. And I believe, although you can't see it, if you, on the other side, there's another hose clamp and tape holding it to the stairs. And not to beat a dead horse here, but not industry standard by any means, and not a long-term solution. It's just, this will fail at some point.
All right.
So, I mean, like I said, I've got a lot of pictures and things to highlight that. It's just, again, I don't want to, beat a dead horse here, but it's these things that we're finding that are just, layers of an onion.
Yeah, so that's kind of reasons we're bringing this forward. So, I mean, we have some physical deficiencies with the way the network is built. But even if we didn't do anything with that or just fix that up, we're still going to get the coverage that we're getting. So, knowing what we know now, that's why we're bringing it forward. This is a safety issue for all of our radio users. Yeah, so we kind of know ballpark figures. We're looking at any options we can find to pay for it. But Aaron is giving us a more concrete dollar amount and a full pitch to the committee for next month.
And we currently really don't have much of a communications budget per se, since we were only really paying Mr. Crook in the past, right? I mean,
Correct. But we have a
contract.
in the sheriff's budget, there is like our annual cost to operate the system. We have that in our budget, but the fixes that they've done to just stabilize like the antenna on the Hayward Water Tower and then some cable stuff in town of Meteor really wasn't part of our budget. That part, just was it like 30,000 is our annual operating? I can't remember, 30 to 40 in there somewhere.
I can't remember what the sheriff's side is. The EM side also has contractual budget for it and radio tower expenses as well to pay for
Yeah,
rent.
as well as the tower expenses.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that we've got to do something with this. This is just not acceptable. Putting our law enforcement, our public in a life and death situation. And if they can't get law enforcement to help, or law enforcement can't get help to them. And with all these, even with active shooter trainings going on now, if something happens at these schools and they don't have portable or radio contract, what good is it? We got to do something to get this better for law enforcement and the public. And fast. I mean, just what Aaron was showing us there, that's just not acceptable. I mean, we never seen this picture before till today. So.
I don't have any more for
Okay.
that.
So when it says discussion, what are you asking this committee to do, Andy?
That probably discussion action just needs to be on there.
Discussion.
Yep, just
Okay.
discussion.
You guys got anything? Go ahead.
I'm sure we'll have a lot more discussion next month after our presentation. And I think our biggest discussion is going to be trying to find out where we can pull money.
But like I say, it's something that's got to be done. I just think this is ridiculous what I seen today and what we're hearing, and then put all these guys, law enforcement out there on lives on the line for us. John, you got a comment?
Well, just the map that you got up there right now, the coverage down in the southeastern part of the county is nothing. So
Yeah, there's nothing
it
there.
needs to be improved. It very, very much needs to be improved. I guess that's about all I got to say.
Mr. Savitsky?
So what's the time frame now? We just wait for next month's meeting and he'll give us an estimate and we vote for an increase in the budget of whatever it costs and wait for 2025, or I guess what's the process now?
Well, honestly, I guess we maybe could have brought it this month. I didn't want to bring it to the first committee meeting and have for everybody,
No, that's okay.
but that's why we're bringing it right away. We don't want to make it part of 2025's capital budget. We want to move, try to get it approved June, July, so they can start work. Because there is going to be quite a bit of, there's a few things in there that will take time. One is the new tower, the Loretta Tower would have to be a brand new tower to be built. And that covers the east side of the county. Even we'd have to open up a discussion with LCO about getting on the radio tower. And they've identified the ideal tower sites. We still have to make arrangements to get on those towers. And I don't think that's going to be quick.
If I can jump in, Andy, that's exactly right. So, for example, we proposed the Meteor DOT site, but after talking with the DOT guys, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of room on that tower for the county to go on. So it is most likely we're going to end up needing another tower, building another tower in Meteor. And the cost for a radio system is mostly in the infrastructure, in building sites. That's where your overruns can happen. That's where tower steel fluctuates, all of that. We do the best we can to predict all of that, but it's most likely looking that you're going to need 2 sites based on that, because there's just nothing in Meteor that we think the county can get on. We can try to reach out to Excel. You guys were there once before, but they moved you off of that site. And they have quite a bit of loading on their tower as well.
And the other areas we're looking at, we do have access to be able to move to other sites.
Yeah. So the Hayward site is Dairyland Power. You're already there, so that's there. LCO has said in the past that you can use the broadcast tower, so that's a site. Pipestone, you already have some equipment at, so it should be okay. But I know we're looking at Meteor and Loretta as being the 2 that we're probably going to have to build. Loretta for sure. That's just a given. The Meteor, we're going to do what we can to reach out. We already have started that process, but it takes a lot of time to get the sites kind of going and built. It can take up to a year to get some of that done.
Do we have land in Meteor that we can put the tower on? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so we look at that, and you guys, the county owns a lot of property up that way. So yeah, we would, it's one of these things where we propose, hey, it goes here, but if you move it, a mile this way or a mile that way, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, right? So it's finding where you have land and then talking to forestry to have it cleared and then moving forward from there.
Mr. Savitsky, go ahead.
And this idea, this whatever, would this be a plan that would be for the last 50 years, or is this, temporary?
No, so the way I always approach that question is you should be looking to replace or upgrade your radio system about every 10 to 15 years. That's usually the lifespan of most of the equipment.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? Thank you, Aaron,
Yep.
for the information.
Thanks, Aaron.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, number E, emergency management report.
Thank you. I've been continuing to work with townships and villages, going to their meetings and discussing their emergency operations plans and ways to improve them, whether or not they want to practice utilizing their plans, as well as updating our information included in our EOPs. I recently attended the Winter Fire Board meeting to discuss tornado sheltering, evacuations, and planning, along with the help of public health. We had our second LEPC meeting on April 17th. We're tentatively looking to have our next meetings at various places throughout the county to visit other facilities so we know what we're doing when we have to respond to them. We do have new members that were recommended, voted on, and have to be passed to this committee to be passed to public or to county board, I believe. I also will be hosting an emergency planning course in October. And there's also a Skywarn spotter training set for May 22nd here at the courthouse at 6 p.m.
Okay. Don't have any questions? All right, MOU of the Sawyer County Search and Rescue.
I'll take that. A couple months ago, some questions came up regarding Sawyer County Search and Rescue. Questions were about insurance coverage. They were preparing to do a demonstration for one of the businesses that's a supporter of them. And I guess we discussed whether they were covered by insurance. And so just to cut to the chase, it kind of seems like Search and Rescue has been twisting in the wind a little bit, partly because Search and Rescue was started within the county and Human Services, eventually moved over to Emergency Management, and some of the key people involved are no longer employees of the county. Pat's here today. She essentially leads Search and Rescue, but really we don't have, didn't have much in black and white. So to address that, we put together an MOU agreement. Really it's, I should say Search and Rescue, in addition to being really aligned with the county and part of the county, their equipment has been purchased through, grants that the county has facilitated or put together historically. We maintain a financial account for all of Search and Rescue's funds incoming, whether there's some federal dollars through the Sheriff's Department that have supported Search and Rescue. They get grants, they get donations, so the revenues come in, they have expenses. The county's been paying them. So, really, they've been a part of the county, but we're just trying to formalize that so that we have clear roles and responsibilities between the Sheriff's Department, the county finance, and the Search and Rescue teams, and also that it satisfies the insurance company so that they recognize Search and Rescue as being a part of the county, so they're covered by our county insurance. So we're sharing the MOU so that you're aware of all that we're really formalizing this. The MOU outlines operations. The sheriff is okay with the terms we've outlined. Search and Rescue's okay with them. The only thing that I have not got final sign off from is from the insurance company. So we just had a draft MOU last week. The insurance company came back and we made some additions to it, which are highlighted, kind of highlighted in gray in the packet. And really what they're looking to see is that Search and Rescue is directed by the county. They're all volunteers, but the sheriff is really the one, and the Sheriff's Department essentially oversee or direct the work of the Search and Rescue. And Search and Rescue, to their credit, were able to they have standard operating procedures written out for their members, their Search and Rescue dog teams. They have volunteer lists. They have a hold harmless agreement that they use for their members. So they've got their information really well put together. It's just a matter of us putting this into black and white so everybody knows their role. The sheriff could sign off on this, but we wanted to share it with the committee so you're aware of formalizing this relationship.
I just have one question. We have continued and are going to continue to support them financially, correct?
Well, yes, and we don't, just to be clear, we don't put any levy money into it.
Right.
There's a we get federal dollars because we have federal land here. Then one of the eligible expenses that the sheriff can use it for is for Search and Rescue. So they've had access to those funds, and that's part of our county budget.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I would just like to add, as it was mentioned, they are an excellent volunteer organization. They work hard. They do a lot of fundraisers, and they have been a great asset to Sawyer County and all of northwestern Wisconsin, helping on many searches with many successes as well. And we wouldn't have those successes without them. I think this is something that is probably overdue in getting in order exactly how it's structured so it's under the county umbrella.
I've seen Search and Rescue put on their demonstrations. I watched Pat and them when they're in winter at one time. And it's just unbelievable what their animals can do and how they do it. It's it's amazing. And I want to thank you for that. So,
Yes, Pat, she has anything she wants to.
yeah, Pat, do you want to speak? If you want to speak, you come up to the microphone, please. Oh, it's on.
I just want to say thank you, for bringing this up. Andy, for working with you. This is great, well overdue. We've kind of been hanging out in the wind since I retired 2 years ago. We have 30-some dedicated volunteers, and over the last 20 years, probably 100 of them. So this is a step forward for the continuation, whether I'm in charge or somebody else. So I appreciate, the sheriff working with us, and Nicole and stuff working with her, because our team doesn't just do search and rescue. We're also emergency volunteers. We've done the sandbagging. We've done other things. Nicole knows she can call and we'll come. We helped with the power outages and everything else. So, we're a force multiplier for the county, and again, at limited cost. Like Andy said, we receive a little bit from the federal funds, but otherwise our team raises all the money that we need to do the training. And we don't just do in-house training, but we do national training. And so we have everything in place. The other thing I want to thank is the sheriff for allowing Darren Jensen, who is our liaison, and he's been a great asset since he came on board to moving us forward too.
Okay. Great. Anybody have any questions for Pat?
Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Yep. So at this point, we're just waiting for the insurance company to,
Okay, so it's just discussion.
yep.
Okay. All right. Now, number 2. Nicole, you want to answer anything on that?
Went through that already,
Okay.
and the last one as well.
Okay. All right. All right, number F, code enforcement specialist.
My name is Chazanne Olson. I'm the new code enforcement specialist. I started back in beginning of April. I kind of just been learning the ropes, doing my training. I do animal control. I work with human health, which I'm starting to do more of. And then I also work with zoning and that kind of stuff. I got pretty good grasp on the animal control. We do, the dog licensing for the county. That has been slowing down here in April since it is, past the deadline and everything. But we do have a late fee set right now, so the revenue kind of goes up. The calls I've been receiving have been a lot of dogs at large. And if we do have to bring them to the pound, it's pretty split 50-50 with owners reclaiming them or us having to transfer them to the Humane Society. And then I don't really have much with human health and zoning quite yet. I'm just learning those ropes and going to continue those processes and everything.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome aboard too.
Thank you.
Any questions? Sure.
I'd just like to say, and we've been working with Chazanne as well and showing her around the county and getting her started with the radio and a lot of positive feedback. I think she's going to do an awesome job.
Good. Glad to hear that. Okay. Anything else? All right, number 12, monthly child report. Okay, we got a report here. Is any questions with that report? Okay, if not, number 13, ambulance medical examiner update and billing report.
All right, as you can see, we're pretty much the same as we were last year, just a little bit higher for the calls. The one thing that jumps out is if you look at the Narcan given, we've jumped up a lot on that. Law enforcement has been dealing with a lot of overdoses lately. And it definitely shows. We've done a lot of training. We've had a speaker come from Children's Hospital at St. Paul. We were discussing hemophilia. We do have a few people in the county that their kids do have hemophilia, plus one of my EMTs, their child is a hemophiliac, so that was good training. We now have the AED and Narcan and also a Stop the Bleed kit in the maintenance building. Try to put those things where people can get severely injured so they can stop bleeds and give us time to get there to help save them. EMS week starts May 19th. We are planning on doing a little picnic probably at Hay Creek with the EMTs, and if people are around, they're always invited. I think Lucas Shepherd is doing some of the cooking there, so. Coming up in June, me and Jim Onerheim, we are asked to come down to the Wisconsin Corners and Medical Examiners Conference and present a case study. We're going to be going over something that happened on Lake Sissebaegema a couple years ago. The only other real important thing I want to know, as you can see on my thing, I got some pictures of some pills here. There's been an increase, and I've seen it on the medical examiner side, and we've seen it on the ambulance side of counterfeit pills, and they're containing high levels of fentanyl. It used to be that when we did see these pills, they were pretty obvious, like, you know, almost like a kid made them. But the last call that we were on, we were able to identify the pill with a pill identifier, which is really, really scary because that means that it looks exactly like a prescription pill. It's marked the same, everything else is the same. That's really concerning, as in, I know a lot of people here, they've probably had relatives and stuff that have had prescription pills, and they're like, oh, here, let me take something because my back is hurting. They're definitely coming from the southern part of the state up north here. This kind of seems the more consistent route of travel. And like I said, to me, it's really, really concerning, as in on the medical examiner side, when I go and investigate a death, now I'm actually going to be wary about where these pills came from. And if I'm going to try to see if I can get into some classes to see if they're actually filling prescription bottles and making fake labels for these pills as well. So there'll be more discussion on that as I learn a little bit more about it. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Brown, I guess maybe I missed it, but where are these pills coming from?
So when we interview like people that we've either saved or law enforcement saved, I can't tell you, but it seems like they go down like the Chicago, like that area, and then they come up this way, is what I'm seeing so far. And as everybody here knows, I worry more about like how's it going to affect with the kids, because like it's bad for a kid anyway just to take like somebody's Vicodin, right? That's not good. But now if they're taking what they think is Vicodin and now it's 80% fentanyl with some sodium, that's even worse. So, I mean, I'll be getting with public health. We also have an overdose, fentanyl awareness committee. So I'll be getting with them, and I'm definitely going to be more vigilant about that, because it was kind of concerning when my EMT was able to, like, hey, this is supposed to be this pill. And the effects that the patient was having was not what that pill would have been doing. So, and like I said, I give my hands off to the sheriff's department for early Narcan use, and actually now patient assessment with them has been a lot. So they've been doing a lot of training, and I take my hat off to them.
So I have a question then. How did you know that pill was fake, since you could identify it with a pill identifier?
So, well, you have to kind of take people's word for it. So on a couple of cases, the sheriff's office or my EMTs were able to wake the person up. And when they're in that groggy state, they kind of are honest. And so we ask them a lot of questions, and then we find these things on them, and the sheriff's department finds them on them and stuff like that. And if you believe what they're saying, and this is what they say they took, right? And the only other way to do it is to send it out for testing. I do send them out for testing. If they're deceased, I don't know what, if they're alive, I take the patient to the hospital, obviously, I don't.
So currently, there isn't any field expedient way of testing to see if
Well,
it is laced or anything, or?
no, because the problem is it's an opiate. It's just gonna test positive for opiates. So if it's Vicodin, Vicodin has opiates in it.
Sure.
You'd actually have to break it down to the molecular level to see what the percentage of what is. I'm assuming that we could probably find some funding for that because there's a lot of,
Grants?
opiate kind of stuff. Like I said, but this is kind of early. There was one of my biggest kind of a shocker kind of thing because, I have kids in high school and all this stuff like that, and you hear the stories and besides the vaping, the fentanyl vaping that I've been talking about for years, me being really, really worried about, it's another thing that it kind of hits home, and if I can help prevent even one, it'll be worth it, so.
Sure. Thanks.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Fremmel? All right. Thank you, John. All right, number 14, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council update.
Last month, we reviewed a TAD grant letter of support. The CJCC committee signed off on that. They reported they have a couple people in diversion, and they had 5 more referrals that they were working through to bring them into, not diversion, but into the recovery court. We discussed the legal aid position that had been brought up the month before, but that was just there's outside resources through the law school at Marquette and justice legal aid from the southern part of the state that can be accessed. Health and Human Services was probably the majority of the discussion. There's an increased number of YJ referrals and youth being placed into out-of-county programs. The DA has also reported, they're receiving more juvenile justice cases being referred over from the Human Services Department to the DA's office, which is creating some workload issues. It's also creating costs within Human Services. We've been able to maintain pretty good control over our mental health placement costs, but we're going outside the budget on the juvenile placements. And then they also discussed the fentanyl awareness is moving on from, they spent a year now on the awareness campaign, and now that's being transferred to the nonprofit to continue the work, and they're moving into other areas of the fentanyl and opioid issues. The other thing of note is we did a brief discussion at last month's, just as an update on the Sawyer County LCO CJCC MOU. I think you may be aware that for quite a few years, the county has had an MOU with LCO for CJCC, where the LCO has contributed, I believe, $50,000 and also had some individuals they appoint to the CJCC. That's up for renewal right now. And we received word on Monday that they do not want to renew the MOU with us. So we're going to have to address that.
LCO
Yes, correct.
LCO does not want to renew the CJCC support?
Correct.
Well,
So that'll be up for discussion next week at CJCC and addressing that.
all right. Oh, I did have another. What did you, when you said juvenile placement as, what do you mean by that? Can you?
Basically offenders. We do the Child Protective Services area. We have 2 juvenile workers. So they are either offending or have difficulties of some sort. And so they often will get placed into a treatment program or
That's,
some type of facility. Yep.
okay, thank you. Okay.
More questions, Brandy? Number 15, future agenda items. Anybody got anything you want to put on the agenda? Then I would just like to keep the radio coverage on there for a while yet, so this committee stays on top of it. You guys have anything you want to add to the agenda? Okay. Number 16, correspondence reports from conferences and meetings. I have none. Number 17. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department and Code Enforcement and Mr. Bremmel for all you guys do and keeping us safe. We are adjourned.